Hello. Here we are. Today we are going to replace the odometer gear so that I can get back the speed reading. So really anxious to doing that. You see some wrenches there under the Volvo genuine trimming tool, because basically I'm going to disconnect the battery as first step. Since I'm going to be messing around with cables, I want to make sure I don't accidentally produce any spark. Negative terminal is off, so ready to go inside. 97,000 miles. So this is pretty new, but since my odometer is not working, I'm using this to record the miles, and I've been using this for the last 1500 miles. The first thing you need to do is basically to take this dimmer button out and the light switch as well. There you have typical semicircle notch. Okay, and now I'm going to use the trim tool for taking these covers. One out, and the other one is out as well. And for the other side, I'm doing this with one hand only, so bear with me. But basically now you need to get rid of this very well. And by the way, I had this little bulb here, okay, so apart from the connector, so instead of sliding to the left as I have seen, I just disconnected. Most likely the ones that are open here are either broken or are previous models, okay. In this case, this was easier to just disconnect. These are just regular Phillips screws, okay. So you need to take one here. Well, this one is not here, so I guess this cluster was already out at some point. I'm going to put something there, and there you have another two. Anyway, I'm going to set you aside for a second because I don't want to lose these ones. Very important, before removing the instrumental cluster, you will need to take this metal bracket out of the way. Okay, so what you have here is the light from that switch. Here you have the dimmer, and now you have the cluster pretty loose. Now it's just a matter of playing a little bit with the instrumental cluster until you can take it out. Recommendation: have the steering pretty much level, have not any of these switches for the wipers or the lights or the cruise control in its way. Now it's just a matter of playing with it a little bit. And there you have. Now I'll run for some white paper or white tape and a permanent marker so that I can mark all these cables. Okay, that's important, but you don't want to make a mess with these cables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to label this. Okay, so I'm just going to put, for example, there I'm going to put down right. Okie dokie. I already know it's going to be complex to put all this back together, but anyway, it is what it is. If you want to fix something, you need to get your hands dirty. Okie dokie. You can take a look there to what we have. And then, and I'm recording this for as a record to remember, we have the yellow cable on top, and we have the blue and the colorful right below. And just in case you want to take a look inside, there you have. And by the way, hey, that's a nice picture. And by the way, this one that I mentioned, it was the clock one as middle left. Well, actually it's self-connects, and I don't see absolutely anything connecting to the left side, okay? So absolutely everything goes into the right, actually. Okay, so if you think different, it might be because it might have something loose, but otherwise it is as I'm telling. All right, let's take this out of the car. Now, in order to remove the back side of the instrumental cluster, you need to take all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Phillips screws, and that basically will be very, I won't say important, very weird. I don't know what model of instrumental cluster I have, but here where you see a hole, that's where there's a connection typically for the ECU or something like that. I even look in the dashboard, inside the dashboard, if I had accidentally broke this, but no, this model has nothing there. There's where the white and pink cable should typically go. And something else is my clock is not working, and this is somehow loose. So before putting the cluster back, I'm going to put like a black piece of tape just to make sure this keeps pressing down. I don't know if that's going to solve it, but well, I'll give it a try. And I have what I believe it's a healthy obsession on putting the same screws on the same holes, just in case one is shorter, larger, or well, whatever the circumstance might be. So that's the pattern. I took them out. And I found this spring here loose within the cluster. So I don't have a clue where this goes. Here I have. So this might be the reason why my clock is not working. I don't know. I have no clue where this goes. And okay, now next step is just removing these 4 screws, and then the whole speedometer should go. You won't take it from back, you're going to take it from the front, okay? This should lose the whole speedometer. And after playing a little bit with it, you'll be able to take it out. Little piece of advice: don't grab it from the top where the 60 miles are. Grab it from the bottom, because this will basically break the face of the speedometer. Here you have more leverage to do from this, okay? All right, now we need to take these 2 screws, and that basically will open where the gears are. Okay, so I have removed the 2 screws from there, and now I can see the gears. My gear looks so good that I'm starting to think this might not be the issue, and the issue might be with the sensor, the speed sensor itself, or something like that. But anyway, I'll remove it and show you how it is. And this is not broken at all. So I don't know, I believe someone has been working with this before, and maybe they didn't assemble this correctly, or maybe the plug behind the cluster was not okay. So anyway, since I have a new gear, and this is the part number from Scandix, I'm going to install it, okay? But I have the impression this was not the issue, okay? I felt all this very loop, maybe too loop, so that might be the other thing. Maybe the gears were stuck or completely soaked in oil or anything like that. And the rest of the gears are actually pretty healthy as well. Okay, so I don't think this is really the issue. And since I was here, I made it jump 2,000 miles. Might be a bit too much, but I prefer to lie saying that it has more miles than it actually has than the opposite. I basically used the force, the gear there where you see 766. The second 6, I put some strength on it and just jump it. I made it jump from 97 to 99. Okay, so I hope I didn't break anything. And as I said, let's hope for the best. There was no way to show you while I did this, but while I put the new gear back and everything with one hand. But long story short, it's way easier than what it looks in the different videos you might see in YouTube, okay? Since I found the gear was actually quite healthy, and I'm pretty sure the gear was not the issue, I'm going to adjust all the screws, because as you know, sometimes it was maybe just a loose screw or a loose connection. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to change the bulbs. Okay, so another piece of advice, be really careful when putting the speedometer back. So even if you make like the 3 pins connection right, and you see this coming out of here and this black stick coming out from this other side, you might not have your screws aligned to the threads, okay? And that's because you can connect the speedometer, but when you see it might be a bit unlevel to one side or the other, okay? So it's really, it was a bit difficult to make it. So although I have done already everything I was supposed to be doing, now I'm going to tighten this screw here because I see it a bit loose. I'm going to tighten all the screws just in case. Okay, for changing the bulbs and tightening all the screws, I'm going to first put this back so that I have a better structure or better leverage, and I don't break in the process any of the needles in the cluster or anything weird. So I'm going to threaten by hand, and then I'm going to adjust. As I said, I'm going to adjust this one, that one, and I don't think I have any other. And I might take a piece of cloth and I might clean the connections a little bit with isopropylic alcohol. Bulbs out, you just twist counterclockwise, and if you have to install them back, you just do the opposite. Just a recap on what I learned after reading a lot. If you have a non-tachometer one with an automatic transmission, what you have basically, there are in the middle, the yellow cable goes to a spade next to the speedometer connector. That's for the cruise control. What you have in the middle basically is the speedometer, positive and negative, plus the key on one. And now the only two things you are missing, or I'm missing, are basically the full circle, the half circle, and the bottom right connector. So that's the only thing you should have. Okay, so after fighting a good 10 minutes with the full circle plug, because you need to make sure that little half moon that has matches to the hole, I'm ready to test this, and what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to connect the battery, and I'm going to try at least if the lights are coming on. And of course I'm going to have a fire extinguisher handy just in case. I don't think I'm going to need to use it, but you never know when you have been missing with connectors and with electricity. Now just reverse order. Put first this bracket over here, make sure the hole aligns. What is this? This is filming my total failure. Basically the clock is not working. You see there 15 to 9, it's actually 10:40, and the speedometer is not working, and luckily the temperature gauge is still working. So long story short, it has to be the speed sensor, or given that the clock is not working either, forget about the fuel one, that's another problem. But basically, I don't know, might be the speed sensor, or might be the whole cluster, or the whole cables coming to the cluster. I don't know, I have something that needs deeper digging. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, although my total failure.